it's like these love and light people. They want to be seen and known as, you know, very they want to be known as empaths, and they love people, and they're only here for the love and the light. But they always vote conservative. Well, not always. I don't want to generalize too much here, but these are the pretty facades with ugly innards or thoughts and beliefs, whereas the occult bro, like, yeah, they want you to think that they're hard and tough and gruff and this mean dude. But like I said, they're the metalheads that are adopting kittens.
Welcome back to the Tarot Talk Show. I'm your host, George Duss, and today's episode is one I've been genuinely looking forward to. My guest is Lexie Fraiche, the voice and brain behind Miss Nefarious Aquarius on YouTube. She's been making waves in the tarot community with her sharp, no-nonsense commentary style. And if you just watched that opener, yeah, she pulls no punches. In this conversation, we get into her 5 tarot reader archetypes that honestly had me questioning which one I am. We talk about the Decan Walk, something I've never heard of before finding her channel. And we dig into her reading philosophy, her origin story, and why she thinks tarot is absolutely not a monolith. Fair warning, if you're a love and light reader, you may want to grab a glass or two of wine before this one. Now, before we get into it, if you enjoyed this show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your tarot community. Every share helps us keep these conversations going. All right, let's get into it. Welcome back to the Tarot Talk Show. Today, I am joined by Lexie Fraiche, the voice and brain behind Miss Nefarious Aquarius on YouTube. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how's it going? You know, just hanging out, ready for this interview, the hot questions, hot topics.
And you have this kind of slang that I've never really heard about. It's called the tarot tuber. So we'll have to get into that a little bit later on. What that kind of represents. I think it's quite the thing. So where are you joining us from today, and how's that space shape the way you read or film as Miss Nefarious Aquarius? And I did look at your video on how you do tarots, and you have this altar and stuff like that. So maybe you want to explain a little bit about that.
Okay, so I am in Portland, Oregon, and today I did film a video, and it's very sunny today, and I am in a sunroom. This is an old sunroom that I've kind of adapted into my tarot room. It's a small room. I have a couple of different altars. I have like 3 or 4 in this room, and I try to film around them. I don't necessarily think that it's just kind of private to me, and it's not. I'll share most of the stuff that I do with my audience, my tarot channel, but there are some things that I'd like to kind of keep personal, a little private, just because it's meaningful to me, and it's not meant for everyone. It's meant for me.
Well, exactly. I mean, the whole witch's altar, it's a very personal thing, like. I don't have an altar myself. Normally I just kind of, I'm pretty low key when it comes to, setting up my space and stuff like that. But I found it kind of interesting how you totally get into that space, and maybe that's what I need to do is create a sanctuary, I guess, for when I'm doing readings and stuff like that. But
a lot of people mistake what an altar can or should or could be. This isn't something. Now, some of it is for reverence, but some of it's also just for having a specific altar for a specific thing. Again, if it's not reverential, you can look at it and remember why you set it up, right? Or just meditate or think about those cards and why you set them up and how you set them up, and so on and so forth. But no, I would suggest anyone to set up an altar. It's a good part of my practice.
Awesome. So, what's the last card that really stopped you in your tracks, and what did it ask you to confront in yourself? So, normally people say the Tower, but
No, this one's actually kind of yeah, Six of Wands. I've gotten this couple of times this week. I have little tiles at my job that are like stick figures, and I've been pulling three of those for the past few days. And so I got the Six of Wands, I got the Hermit, and I want to say I got the Ace of Pentacles. And obviously I remember that. But then I did another reading for myself that same day as I was journaling, as I was collecting some ideas and stuff for the channel. And I got the Six of Wands again. And I was like, huh. And I also got the Knight of Pentacles. I can't remember. I took a picture of it. But no, the Six of Wands. And
it's a very awesome card too. It's like victorious,
no, it's a
like
great
very
card.
empowering.
But it's I'm one of these readers that I can see every single angle of the card, right? Like either I could be this gentleman on the horseback, or I could be one of the people congratulating him. Either way, it's a very festive, jovial, happy scene. But it's just like where you place your card and how you interact with different people in that card, or different imagined scenarios, right? But no, Six of Wands, great card. I'm still kind of digesting it. I'm still kind of trying to understand, like, picking the same card in the same day. It's just odd.
It's a sign. So
It means something. I don't know. I've been enjoying it.
it's something to look more into, to go dive really in deep and so into
Get
it.
2 journal pages out of that, I'm sure.
So, do you remember your very first deck, and was it a gift, or did it click right away? And do you actually still use it? No, we all have our famous decks. Normally, it's right away, but for most people,
It was the Mythic Tarot, and this is not the same. I mean, it's the same copy, and same backs and same package. It's the same unit, right? But it's not the same one that I picked up when I was like 13 or 14. And that has been lost in various shuffles and moves and things of that nature throughout my life. I bought this a couple of years ago off of eBay, and I'm so happy that I own it. It's more of a nostalgia piece for me. I should use it, honestly, because it's a great deck. It is a Greek mythology deck. And do you want to see some cards? Are you good?
yeah, sure, yeah.
Dang it.
I'm always like, you haven't seen my setup. I have
Well, I can see some
display
stuff
over
behind.
here, and then I got some here, and then I got stuff on the other side of the room. So it's like I try to be like very, I got to stop buying tarot cards and oracle cards. I got more oracle cards than tarot ones, but
Well, I have more tarot than oracle for sure. But in the video that's coming out today, or on April 4th, whenever people are watching this, I do show kind of how I store and organize my tarot collection. So I literally have things all surrounding me, and I just have this little space where I sit and film. But here is, if you like, again, Greek deck.
yeah, very nice.
And this is old school. Like all the girls who got into tarot in the 80s and the 90s will be very familiar with this deck. It's not anything we haven't seen 1,000 times. And I really should get back into it, but I don't know. It's more of a nostalgic thing. Maybe one day.
So do you actually look at the guidebooks, or are you kind of more
Yes.
imagery?
So when I picked this deck up, like I said, I was about 13 or 14. So I knew nothing about tarot, right? And tarot had always kind of been ubiquitous for me growing up. It wasn't anything that was like taboo or I was a young witchy goth girl growing up. So the movies that I would watch, the environments that I would be in, tarot was always kind of like a background player. So with the Mythic Tarot, I did have to read the guidebook to kind of understand what was happening in these cards and who they were depicting and so on and so forth. But with like a themed deck, you have to get into the guidebook. Now, if it's a regular old Rider-Waite-Smith or Thoth or Marseille, you already have all that knowledge in your head, so you don't need to get into the guidebook as much. But I'm not anti-guidebook.
Oh, yeah. I originally, when I started studying tarot, it was like the guidebook. I got to read everything and I try to memorize it. And now it's all imagery. So, and a part of that, one of those 5 types that you were talking about in one of your videos, which we'll get into. But anyway, so we are where you are today is always beautiful to witness. But I know there's usually a story behind it. So let's go back a little bit. So welcome back. How did tarot first come into your life, and when did it shift from something private to something you wanted to share publicly on YouTube and, and with your friends and stuff like that?
I don't think there was ever really a shift for me. I've never been private about doing tarot, studying tarot. I guess maybe it clicked for me when I started my study in 2018, and I didn't read for many, many years, maybe 2.5 years. I didn't read. I would just study every single day, card by card by card, in order, right? So you're talking the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, and the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups, so on and so forth. And once I got into that rhythm of studying, certain things started to unveil themselves to me, and I really got an understanding of each one of these 78 cards and how they could be practically applied to my life in any given situation, good or bad. And that's probably when it clicked. As far as me, coming out of the tarot closet or anything, that never happened. I don't really hide, or I don't hide, nor do I share my interests. It just, if you're around me, then I like music, I like makeup, and I like tarot, right?
Yeah, you got the whole the goth look, and when I was in high school, I got totally into goth music, but I dressed up like a preppy. I was like a nonconformist kind of type person, right? I wasn't subjected to the image, and that's how I actually present myself at psychic fairs, right? I actually had a woman come up to me and says, "Hey, I'd like to have a reading with you." And I said, "Oh, okay." She says, "You're the only normal person on this fair, right? Everybody's like all like gypsy wise, and they're all decked out in the whole like persona of a typical tarot reader." And so it was kind of a refreshing that this woman approached me. She says, "Yeah, you look normal, so I'd like to have a reading with you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but
Very cool.
So did you resist it at first, or fall right into it? And what helped you move through any hesitation when you started doing the tarot readings and stuff like that, and learning about tarot?
I think my biggest obstacle or my biggest hurdle at first was just being overwhelmed by how daunting learning was. But I was like, no, anything worth doing is worth doing correctly, right? So I just went day by day, card by card. I kind of fell right into it. There was no hesitation, just because I had a lot of time on my hands. I've shared this in one of my videos, my tarot first and origin story, that video about why I picked up tarot as a spiritual hobby, as a special interest. And I just kind of fell into it, and there was no hesitation. There was no resistance. And it's something that's become such a really enriching part of my life, and something that I never felt that I had to hide, something that's just, it's now a part of my personality, right?
What kind of actually sparked you to actually start this YouTube channel? Because it's only been less than a year or something like that. So you got quite a few followers too. So it's
yeah, that is. So as you know, as most people know, the big video was Tarot is no monolith. That was the one that, like, I don't know, hit the algorithm, and then just like everybody started like, oh my God. And I never thought that I was doing anything outside the norm. I just, well, I'll get into that. Let's get into that. I started the channel, and I've spoken about this once before. I filmed that video, the very, very first video of mine, which I don't suggest you watch. It's terrible. It's horrible.
Hey, we got to start somewhere, right? So
The first pancake is not going to be the prettiest, right? So you got to get the rhythm. So the very first video I filmed on November 4th of 2025. November 4th is the anniversary of my mother's death. So I was already kind of in a really emotionally wrought place, and I have been wanting to start a channel for a very, very long time, but I just, I didn't have anything kind of pushing me or motivating me or anything to do it. So I just said, I had drafted this idea. I had written the things down. I had gathered the decks. I had gathered the records. I had done all of this. And I just didn't want to think about my mother's death. I also wanted to honor her, right? Because
exactly.
She always, I was an opinionated person, and she'd always, it was just a way to honor her and not be too sad about it, and do something that I really loved. And that's the story of why and how I created my first video, created the channel, started uploading, all that good stuff.
So do you feel like her presence when you're when doing these YouTube videos? And
no, nothing like that. I
some people do, it's like, hey, it's got kind of that inspiration kind of thing.
No, I don't. It's, I never really had a question of, did my mother love me? Of course she loved me. I know she loved me. It's one of these things that I always wanted to make her proud. I always wanted her to know that I'm all right. And she had the biggest hand of creating who I am today. Right. So do I feel her while I'm filming? No, not necessarily. When I tell a joke about her, or I say specific things that remind her or remind me of her, or just even my lexicon, things that I say, like I'm from the South, and I don't know, you can't really hear it.
No,
but
I don't, actually.
No, nobody knows that I'm from the South. And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Texas, right? But because I lived in a more urban environment, people don't hear that until I really start going, and then they're like, oh no, that's my mom, right? That's not me, that's my mom.
So was there a reading or a moment that changed everything for you, and that made you see tarot's full potential?
This is going to be a boring answer. No. It was the study. It was the routine. It was the habit. It was getting into the guidebooks, getting into different tarot study resources. It was going to the library, and it was the ritual of it that it was. I have had a few profound readings, but I was already firmly settled into a tarot practice at that particular time. So I wouldn't say that was the catalyst to make me, like open my eyes and see what tarot could be. It was just creating the habit, creating the ritual, digging into this esoteric knowledge that is available to all of us, but that wasn't necessarily available to everyone, 80 years ago, 90 years ago. And we live in such a informationally rich time that I could learn something that Arthur Edward Waite had to, graduate into different levels to find out, to be revealed to him. So I appreciate tarot just for its historical significance and what it means to me today.
Right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started the show, right? Is because I was trying to find different things about tarot and stuff like that, and there wasn't really much out there. And I thought, all right, I'm going to start the show and what I've learned throughout my years of reading and stuff like that. And I've been doing My first public reading was actually in 2015. So,
Oh,
and
wow.
and it was quite the story. So, I ended up signing up for a course that was in a cult bookstore, and I think it was like 6 weeks or something like that. And she was a famous medium in Toronto, and she said. She says, "Oh, yeah, your last class is going to be doing live readings. So the bookstore is going to advertise free readings, and that's your graduation. You're going to do free readings for the public." And I'm going, "Oh my God!" So it's I was kind of nervous, but she kind of, she went through this meditation with us, and the whole, the warm light kind of going on your crown, and you're getting all the spiritual energy and blah 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 blah. And the craziest story that from that day was, and I tell this in a couple of times in my videos, was this young woman, and I think it was like the last person she read I was reading for, and she said, so I laid out the cards, and it was exactly the same cards that the other four readers in the class actually drawn for her, right? And she was in a really terrible relationship, and she was pregnant, and like abusive relationship. And I'm going, she started freaking out and crying, and I'm going, like, what's going on? She says, these are the exact same cards that I had, like, for the other readers that I had. And I was like, well, I think that's a sign for you to do something about your situation and stuff like that. So it's kind of ironic. And these days, even if I'm like reading for somebody and it's not making sense at the time, and I'm going, it's going to make sense for you eventually, right? Because I'm not a predictive reader. I don't tout to be a predictive reader, and same with you. And I'm just a messenger, right? These cards are mirroring what's going on in your life, whether you realize it or not. And when they start thinking about it, when they kind of mull it over after a day or so, going, oh shit, he was right. so yeah, so it's crazy. We have always crazy readings, and we have stories and stuff like that, and I kind of translate these into some of the shows and stuff like that. So, but anyways.
And so what I think you're doing is interesting. In sort of the same vein of what I'm doing, I'm not necessarily reading for people, right? I'm not doing deck reviews. I'm a commentary channel. I'm commenting on what's happening in this wide expanse of tarot, right? We're talking predominantly YouTube, but we're talking YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, places, your metaphysical shops, all the things that kind of is tarot but isn't tarot. It's like the tarot culture, right?
Right.
And because there are so many, there's just a wide expanse of people who are interested in this specific niche community, that you can really touch on a lot of different things. And I guess that's the sociologist in me that really just likes the study of people. And in this community, it's ripe for studying.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, I said, we're going through like chaotic time, and more people are getting kind of awakened. Now they're starting to get, find out about tarot or mediumship or whatever, right? That they want to do. And, everybody's getting awakened. And so that, people are doing mystic things, whether it's tarot, mediumship, and stuff like that. And people are kind of finding out about our channels and stuff like that. And now, like, as you alluded to earlier, information is now available, and we have the tarot tubers out there, many different types of us out there. And it's it's a way to learn, right? So, I have my analytical, as far as my shows and stuff like that, and like how to ask a good question. It's funny because the last online reading, somebody from the southern U.S. actually found me through like one of my episodes about how to ask the right question, and because she was struggling. She's a psychotherapist, and for some reason, I have this that she would be my third psychotherapist, and I sometimes freak out. I'm going, okay, I'm psychoanalyzing through tarot to another therapist, right? So,
no, that's really cool.
you know, so there's no pressure at all, right? So.
Loads of therapists utilize tarot for helping their clients. It's not abnormal. That I think that's awesome.
No. So one was at a fair, and I said, hey, you should incorporate the doing tarot readings and stuff like that in your practice. She says, oh, no, because up in Canada we have so much regulations and stuff like that. She says that's not allowed. So I'm going, I can see it. It's too bad. I've met a lot of life coaches that actually do incorporate tarot and other mystic stuff to kind of enhance their practice of life coaching and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool, and it's a great period to to learn and gain knowledge from a lot of sources and stuff like that. So, and to be honest, when I first saw your show, your first video, I'm going, oh, she's like my competitor and stuff like that. But I'm going, just at fairs and stuff like that, I don't view the other, because there's usually like 3 or 4 other 5, maybe 6 tarot readers at a fair. And I'm going, we all have our different ways of reading and stuff like that. So I don't, if I talk to somebody and I'm going, hey, this other reader would probably be better for you. I'm not gonna, if they're better for the other reader, then that's great Absolutely. For them because I'm all about trying to help people, right? So, and people come to us.
I would not view you as any kind of competition. I think we're doing very similar things very differently. And you're way more professional than I am. You got a really cool setup, and I'm just, I'm just some girl in her tarot room after work, like, oh, let's get this video made.
Yeah.
Just BS YouTube.
Hey, those are the ones that get the most views. They changed their algorithm, so it's a little bit more. The more natural you are, because with all the AI getting infiltrated through videos and stuff like that, people are actually now going, oh, okay, this person's authentic and stuff like that. So, but anyway.
Well, at least I got that going for me.
That's true. I love learning things about you. So, and we'll get into one of the things that, one of the videos I loved, the Decan Walk. I'd never heard it before I saw your video about that, but we'll get into that later. So,
wow. Okay.
No. So you're going to explain it to us later. So it's amazing how each reader's path unfolds in its own way, and no 2 stories are the same. So let's bring it into the present now. For someone who has never seen your channel before, how would you describe your personal reading style, and what is your spiritual philosophical lens that shapes it?
So for someone who has never been to my channel before, my reading style is 60% at the home and about 40% outside of the home, whether it be at my job, whether it be at a bar or a cafe or the library. The way I read is very elemental and very numerological, and I do a lot of work with Decans, either for I wouldn't say future predictive kinds of readings, but knowing the time frame would be helpful. And as far, I would view it more from a philosophical lens, because I don't think I'm a diviner in the traditional sense. I mean, maybe I am. Take that with a grain of salt, because I don't necessarily know if I believe that, I'm a fortune teller. But anyway, I view it more from just like, how can I utilize this card to guide me through the day? How can I utilize this spread to help me this week or this month or with this situation or with this particular question or the querence question, which I also like to take a hands-off approach to reading for people publicly, whether it be friends or colleagues or people that just come up to me that know that I read tarot. I am really hands-off as far as the question goes. I don't need to know your question. You don't need to tell me your question. If you want to tell me your question, then that's where ethics get involved. And I have to be a little bit more picky or choosy about what I am willing to answer. But if I don't know your question, that takes a little bit of the emotional stress and the emotional attachment. That takes it off of me, because I'm not answering a question about if your long lost lover is going to call back or come back into your life, or if your ailing mother is going to get better. I'm not answering those questions. I'm answering something that is more nebulous to me. I don't know. I'm just weaving these cards together and telling you a story that the cards are telling me, right? I'm the medium, but I don't mean it like like a psychic sense. I'm the medium. I'm connecting the client to the cards, and that's about it.
Oh, that's how it should be. There are a lot of people, like a lot of readers that, I do predictive readings and blah, 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 blah. And going, you can't really say that. But you saw my AI video, and I kind of touched on the pareidolia effect, and beginning when I first started reading, it was like, I need to know the question, right? Because so I'd always ask, can you spell out your answer? And so that I could have a more accurate reading. And the last couple of years, I my best readings are when they don't ask me questions. I just lay down the card, and as long as I don't think about it, and just like let spirit just ramble on of what my narrative of what these cards are really telling for the person, those are the best readings, right? So the most famous question I wanted to ask you, because I wanted to do this episode, an episode about different card readers, but you bet me to it. So anyway. So in your 5 types of tarot readers video, you laid out these eerie, accurate archetypes. And so which type did you start out as, and which type do you think you are now? And we'll get, what do you think, what archetype out of those 5? If you can list those down for us. So for people who haven't seen your video.
Yeah, no, the 5 archetypes that I spoke about in my 5 types of tarot readers is your Earth Mother, your Occult Bro, your TikTok Vibes Only.
I love that
one. Your Love and Light, and your Jungian Analytical. So those are your 5 types of tarot readers. Now, I myself, I started out as, and I think I still am, a Jungian Analytical kind of reader with a little dash of Occult Bro in there. That's surprising that, these ideas come to me, and I was like, how has no one ever talked about this before? And
nobody has. That's why I loved it. I'm surprised that's not your most popular one.
Well, it got way more popular than I thought it would, but I'm always very slightly just amazed that people even watch my videos, because I think they're, I'm not doing anything especially interesting or fun. I just have opinions that apparently people want to hear.
So, which type do you think you are now?
Oh, I still think I'm a Jungian Analytical. I with a little dash of that Occult Bro, because I can be a little judgy, a little bit. But I know that about myself, so.
No. With the Occult Bro, and I kind of alluded to me being a Gothic type, and in your video you were saying that they have this persona that they portray, but yet they're totally different people inside, right? And so I kind of related to that, but
It's like these love and light people, they want to be seen and known as, you know, very they want to be known as empaths, and they love people, and they're only here for the love and the light. But they always vote conservative. Well, not always. I don't want to generalize too much here, but these are the pretty facades with ugly innards or thoughts and beliefs, whereas the occult, bro, like, yeah, they want you to think that they're hard and tough and gruff and this mean dude. But like I said, they're the metalheads that are adopting kittens, right? They're fostering kittens. These are the people with hearts of gold that just want better for humanity. They love the idea of people but are turned off by individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
The lone wolf ones. That's what I am. Through this interview, what would you think I would kind of portray from what you know about me so far?
Well, you did say that you enjoy light seers. So I would probably say you're probably the Jungian analytical with a little bit of Earth Mother.
Okay. Earth Mother. I never thought of that way. So.
Well, the Earth Mother I get light seers to me as a little Earth Mothery, and that's neither good nor bad or anything of that nature. That's just how but how do you view yourself from the 5 archetypes, from the 5 stereotypes that I laid out?
Well, definitely the youngin. And I actually ran, like, other than you, there was another one. I can't remember his name, but he goes by Dove and Serpent. And he's very analytical, right? And he's like very meticulous, like not, the love and light kind of thing. And I was like, wow, I have to get him on the show too, because I think we'd hit it off together too. So because of our analytical, the way we read cards analytically, right? It's like, but you must have pissed off a lot of those love and light ones, because they're not. I told when I heard that and I was watching it, I'm going, oh yeah, I know a couple of those, and they may not take so kindly, but they're the ones that probably not looking at things, because it's that whole positive
toxicity.
Yes. So there's those people, and I'm going, I'm not going to tell you that, during my reading, I'm going to tell you what's honest. And it's kind of interesting. I was talking to another reader at one of the fairs, and she says, and I don't want to piss off females out there, but readers, but, most of the female readers, they're all like the love and light kind of, and, positivity and stuff like that. Whereas from a male perspective, and if you get a reading from a male, we're like direct. We're not all the fluffy kind of vibe going. We're direct, like most that masculine energy that kind of we transcend to people, right? So it was kind of an interesting take.
I got a tarot reading from a buddy of mine, a male. He's a guy. I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. It's probably a year and a half ago at this point. And he knows me. We're friends. We're whatever. I had just gotten home from a trip that I took to Houston. I think it was for my high school reunion. But anyway, he gave me a reading, and I was like, dude, this was fucking brutal. This was horrible. And he's like, yeah, I kind of didn't even want to show you. And I was like, no, I'm glad you did. I'm a big girl. I can take it. But it's just like, this is a horrible reading, but and that's how I know we're good friends. Cause like, he just read the cards, and what am I going to do? I'm going to be mad at him for him being honest. And it was like, well, this is what I see. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can see that too. It's kind of horrible. Thanks. Love you, bud.
It is what it is. Yeah, sometimes, and I've had a couple of readings where they're going, oh shit, I need to deal with it. And those are the, with the fairs, what I do is like more of a life snapshot kind of reading, like 9 cards with the 3 different aspects of your life, your home and family life, your love and relationships, and career and life path. And so I do 3 cards, foundation, what's currently going on with you, and what you need to actually move forward with, right? So, and people
Well,
freak out.
that's why I said you were a little bit of the Earth Mother, because those are the ones who are always at fairs.
No.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that earthly scent that or that cologne or fragrance or whatever, but
Chewy.
kind of chewy. So when you look at the wider tarot community through these 5 types, which type is the most understood, and which one do you secretly have the most tenderness for?
Both of those questions, the Earth Mother. I think they're extremely misunderstood because, I'll be honest, they were the easiest one to pen down, just because it's such a wide umbrella, and they're misunderstood. And I have the greatest love for them because they are the shepherds of this community, for better or worse. They are the stereotypical fair readers. They're the ones that smell like patchouli. They're the ones who are the representation of tarot as it's commonly known today. You can think of your gothy witchy person in all black with long black fingernails, holding the card out to you like some sort of, I don't know, fever dream of what a tarot reader is. Or most people think of the short white woman with the flowy patchwork skirt and her crocheted purse, and maybe she doesn't shave her underarms, and maybe you know what I mean. But that's neither good or bad. It's just an image that you create in your mind of stereotypes that we're all completely aware of, that are ubiquitous throughout culture, throughout the zeitgeist. And I think I have such a soft spot for them because they're very good stewards of our community, and they love us, and they're the complete opposite of your love and light, where it's all aesthetic, it's all ring lights and QR codes and Cash App, and it's just money, 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 money. And I dislike that kind of energy because you could easily turn tarot into a grift without even thinking about it or being knowledgeable about it. And I know the consumer or querents or people who aren't especially in tuned to this, they're easily taken advantage of. And those love and light and those TikTok readers, they will be the ones to do it. Not your occult bro, not your Earth Mother, not your Jungian analytic.
No, exactly. I haven't really looked at TikTokers and stuff like that, but when you demonstrated what a TikToker Viber was, and you pulled out the cards and was like, oh my God, do people really do this on TikTok or YouTube or whatever? It's unbelievable. While they misinterpret it, because it's all about the vibe and stuff like that. And they, frankly, they do get most of the hits, right? Because it's all about clickbait and, other than us tarot readers that, we're more truth forward looking, trying to help you get through your path and stuff like that.
I don't know if that's a genuine reading. I was just kind of have a laugh and a giggle at something that it was a skit, right? And I have so many skits and I have so many ideas. I just don't know how to, weave them into a video. Before I even started this channel, I had recorded a couple of skits on my phone that have never seen the light of day, that I hope eventually will. I might have to re-record them in some form or fashion. But I've always tried to interject a little comedy into my channel because, why not? It's part of my personality.
Yeah, I'm a little bit too professional. But
no.
And that's what attracts, people to your channel too, because you're a little bit relaxed and, you give the straight shit, Do you ever catch yourself slipping into a type that you don't love, and how you course correct in real time? And this is related to the 5 archetypes there.
Yeah. So I think I often find myself slipping into I find myself slipping into a cult bro status simply because I'm a little bit judgy, a little bit gatekeepy, and I know this about myself. It's something that I'm actively trying to work on. How I course correct in real time, um, there have been dozens of things that I have said in videos that are on the cutting room floor, right? There are things that I have said that I really wanted to keep in, but I knew it just, this might be a little too incendiary. This might be a little too controversial. I don't think it's going to go the way I've intended. So this is not going to come out. This will never see the light of day because it's a little too much. And that's how I course correct with this judgmental, gatekeepy, occult bro thing that I know that I can drift into, but I really try to jerk myself like, no. Be more amiable.
You can always do an episode about it,
I
because
could.
people would actually, the reason why I do these things, all these episodes for the different channels and stuff like that. If I make a difference for one person, it's all worth it. So,
Absolutely.
And doing an episode like that, maybe it's kind of hard to hear, but maybe somebody's going to take that and actually transform themselves. So that's what I kind of look at things. I'm starting to be more like a little bit love and light kind of thing, but I'm all about empowerment, so empowering people. So even if it has to be harsh. So much of what we shared speaks to how you show up as a reader, but there's always the deeper language of the cards themselves and how you walk with them over time. You invited people into this whole Decan Walk project. For folks who've never heard that phrase, which I didn't until I saw your video, what is a Decan Walk and what made you commit to it?
So a Decan Walk is how you interact with your 36 minor arcana cards. One single zodiac sign has 3 different 10-degree segments of that sign. We are currently in Aries 2, I believe. What is today? Today is the 4th. Yeah, we're in Aries 2. So that would be the 4 of Wands, correct? No, the 3 of Wands, We're going to get to the 4 of Wands. Aries 1 is the 2 of Wands, Aries 2 is the 3 of Wands, and Aries 3 is the 4 of Wands. We are currently in the 2 of Wands. And when you roll over into Taurus, you're going to be going into the Pentacles, because Pentacles is an earth suit, Taurus is an earth sign. So as you go from zodiac to zodiac, 10-degree section to 10-degree section, you're going to be contemplating, meditating on that one minor arcana card. Now you can get into the planetary rulers and the celestial zodiacal rulers that go into that card. So you can, when I talked about this in the video, there are so many different aspects of a Decan Walk that you can incorporate, or you can leave by the wayside. It doesn't really matter. You can either focus on one card, or you can focus on 3 cards, or you can focus on way more cards than that. But I don't have it on me. I wish I had brought it with me. I think it's in my dang purse. But having a Decan wheel is extremely helpful, because as you go from Decan to Decan, Aries 1, Aries 2, Aries 3, Taurus 1, Taurus 2, Taurus 3, Gemini 1, Gemini 2, Gemini 3, so on and so forth, you will get a different selection of cards per each slice, right, of that wheel. And it's really helpful to just getting to know your minor arcana, and having a segment of time that you could look to if you wanted to do a predictive reading, if that was something that you were interested in. Or if you're not interested in the predictive element or aspect of a Decan, you could utilize that time like, okay, Aquarius 1 is the 5 of Swords, Venus in Aquarius. I know exactly what time that is, right? That's going to be your first 10 days of Aquarius season. So we're talking what? January 20th to the 30th, right? So that's your first little section of Aquarius 1. Now, if you know these decans in your head as you're reading, again, if you don't want to utilize it for predictive reading or time, think about what the middle of January feels like to you. Then you can then incorporate that into your reading. It's very cold, it's very frigid, it's very frosty. It's not, it's cold without being like a festive season. It's not Christmas. You're in the doldrums of winter. How would you translate that and use that into a reading? So I think that's why people who've never done a Decan Walk should do a Decan Walk, because it gets you using astrology. It gets you using your minor arcana. It gets you relating to time-specific concerns.
Yeah, no, I was totally fascinated, and especially the predictive thing. I was like, because a lot of people say, well, when is this going to happen? I'm going, I have no idea. Well, I go based on the colors of the cards. I'm going, well, if it's kind of cold looking or whatever, it's probably winter or whatever. But I try to avoid those kind of, when people kind of pressure me into like timing and stuff like that. I'm going, it will happen when it happens. So you may have answered this already, but how was walking the Decans change the way you see certain cards or parts of the zodiac? And have you any minors or Decans totally surprised you now that you're living with them over time? Then how long have you been doing this Decan Walk? Is this the first year that you're doing it? Because it seems like you can rattle off these, the signs and stuff for that, and the timing and in the cards. And so you must have been doing it for a while. So
I've been doing a Decan Walk for 3 years. This might be my 4th year that I've been doing it. Okay, so hang on. This is the hard part where you have to actually think about stuff. And because I brought up the Rider-Waite-Smith, I didn't bring out my Thoth deck. And Thoth, it's much easier to kind of see the Decans because it's on the card itself. So this is your 5 of Pentacles, okay? So this is going to be your very first Decan of Taurus season, which is coming up right after Aries season. So this will be the card to focus on in the next couple of weeks. Not right now, but whenever Taurus happens, I just want to make sure. Yes, it is. So I know when this card comes, think about what's going on in Taurus. Think about what the Pentacles mean. This is all about, Taurus are known to be kind of home bodies, and your 5 of Pentacles, it kind of talks about how you lack resources. And again, this is all about timing and how you can focus on this very specific card for 10 days during that first Decan of Taurus. So this is a card that I know and I can feel. I've already spoken about the 5 of Swords. This is my personal Decan. This one, your 8 of Wands, is the very first Decan of Sagittarius. And think about it. When does Sagittarius season start? It happens around the end of American Thanksgiving. I know you guys have your Thanksgiving is much ahead of ours. This happens right after American Thanksgiving and right before your Christmas season. And what is that 8 of Wands? You can you can feel this card. You know exactly what it means, because all of us know that pressure of everything just move, everything fast, with your family, with buying gifts, with doing all of the laundry, with cleaning the entire house top to bottom for company. Like, how this feels. I didn't bring it out.
That is an awesome analogy to actually kind of think, because for me, with everything going in my head and trying to remember all this stuff, but, using that feeling, because that feeling actually, sits with you a lot better than trying to randle off, okay, with the 8 of Wands. And you were like spot on the Taurus, because that's what I am. So.
Wow. Well, see, look, I'm just giving you all of my knowledge. That's great.
So if someone listening wants to join your Decan Walk, but feels intimidated by all the correspondence, what's the gentlest entry point?
I don't know if there is one.
It's a lot to learn.
I guess
So,
it,
but
I
the
guess,
car, the paper does a lot. Like there should be an Instagram or Pinterest thing for it. So I'm pretty sure people can download it at some.
the Decan Wheel is a fabulous resource. You know what? Okay, I lied. If you're in a middle of a zodiacal season and you want to start a Decan Walk, I would say don't do that until the zodiacal sign changes, right? So, like I said, we're currently in Aries. We're Aries too. So that is what the Three of Wands, right? So it wouldn't make any sense to join the Decan Walk right now when we're smack dab in the middle of Aries too. What you would want to do is wait until you got into Taurus season, right? And then you would get into that Five of Pentacles. So the easiest way to get into a Decan Walk is join when the zodiacal sign changes and then keep up with it, because you're going to be changing that sign, not that sign. You're going to be changing that card, that minor arcana card, every 10 days. So that's the easiest point of entry, is just start when the new sign starts. That's it.
Okay. So you don't have to start at the beginning of Aries or,
No, honestly, you can start anytime. It would be more beneficial to start at the very beginning of a sign, but because Aries does kick off the zodiacal year, it's just easier to start then, and you can have a full year of it.
Do you have a favorite card in the deck and one that still challenges you? And how have your feelings about these two shifted as your practice has grown?
So this was a very easy and kind of difficult. No, it was more easy than difficult. It's easy because I knew immediately which two cards I would pick, and it's difficult because I'm still trying to understand my relationship with one of these cards. My absolute favorite card of all time is the Emperor. I see a lot of myself in him. I see a lot of my mother in him. I don't view masculinity as some sort of like, oh, I gotta have a penis. I don't see it as a patriarchal kind of negative, nasty, man. I don't see it that way. I see it as cultivating the land around me. I see it as being an enforcer, of being maybe a little bit rigid, but I know why I'm rigid. I know why I have to be rigid. And it's about respect, and having respect for yourself and the people around you, setting boundaries when you need to set boundaries, and people acknowledging and knowing that there has to be someone like this. We can't all be, freewheeling fools, or we can't all be magicians. There has to be someone like this. There has to be an emperor, right? It's always been a favorite card of mine.
And you're always, and you seem to be very blunt too. So that's kind of very emperor, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I don't shy away. So my least favorite card, the one that I'm really still struggling, like I understand it, and I have mentioned this before, the Empress. I have such an issue connecting with my own femininity, and again, you think well, you're wearing lipstick and you have your makeup done and blah, blah, blah. Like that's not femininity, right? I don't view it that way. I view this more as like a softness, as a tenderness, as moving and presenting yourself in such a way. And I also kind of have a issue with her always, or wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe she's pregnant, maybe she's not. Like having children is the only worth a woman has, and how you have to be pregnant with something. You have to be pregnant with a child or an idea or some sort of creation, or this to me, I just have a lot of issues connecting and recognizing how I can be the Empress. And of course, these back to back, where one, I was just so immediately turned off, and then you flip that next card and it's this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, he's amazing. you know? So yeah, those have always been two cards. And then equally, Justice. I love Justice. She's also a favorite of mine. Also a little bit masculine, but yeah, those are the cards.
So I'm going to ask you the right question. You may not want to answer, but have you really looked into why the Empress is kind of a struggle for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I've talked about this a couple of times. Like I know it's a shadow. I'm not I'm not completely unself-aware of that fact. It probably has to do with my issues with my mother. It probably has to do with my issues with my father. It probably has to do with issues with myself and how I was growing up and so on and so forth. I'm very aware that it's a personal, just like, people who dislike the emperor, they probably have some issues that they too should look at. And I don't know, just one of them things.
And that's usually how my readings go, right? I'll ask when somebody has a challenge or stuff. I start to go a little bit deeper and finding out what's going on with that. So, that's the question. You didn't have to enter it, but I thought,
Oh, no, I don't
it was kind of good. The cards carry such potent symbolism, and you're literally walking with them over time. But then there's the moment where all that meets a real person in a real reading. What do you wish more clients and viewers understood before coming into a reading, especially when that reading is happening in a very public space of YouTube?
So I don't do a lot of reading on my YouTube channel. I've never done a reading on YouTube, exactly. But if I were talking about my personal experience from reading outside in the world, I think that people need to rid themselves of any preconceived notions that they may have about the tarot and what the cards mean. I think people need to understand that it might not be a reading for them. They can get that reading, but it might not be for them in that particular situation on that particular day. It might be for something, 3 weeks down the road on a completely different topic entirely, right? So I just think people need to understand that there are no rules, and there is no set design or craft or question, or because like I said, they could be asking this particular question, but it might not be what the cards are answering. The cards might be answering a completely different question for a completely different person for a completely different day. So just being so hardline about certain things, it's
I had one reading, we're talking about the sun, and actually a couple of readings. One was talking about the sun. She says, I don't know what this makes sense. And then she went home and talked to her husband about her reading. And she says, oh yeah, that's what's going on with him and blah, 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 blah. And she says, so she texted me the next day and she says, oh my God, you were like totally spot on about
awesome.
the reading. So, and the other reading, I usually get some of these readings, there was a couple that was sitting in front of me. They wanted to know about them and their future and stuff like that. And what kept coming up was something to do with their son, about taking a job or something like that. And so the whole reading was about their son and the impacts that's going to happen with them. And at the end, they're going, so when are we going to find out about us? And I'm going, well, you'll have to pay me for another reading. But this was more geared towards, this was for your son, for you to convey to him, right? So, yeah, I never question things anymore. I just lay it all out.
Just read the cards. Just sling them cards. That's all you can do.
So have you ever had a reading or a video that surprised you so much that changed how you read and how you show up for your audience?
Probably that first big one, Tarot is no monolith. I think I remember, I want to say it was like right before Thanksgiving. It was American Thanksgiving. I don't know why everything revolves around the damn holidays, but they do. Happy Easter, by the way.
No, thank you.
Happy Passover, and so on and so forth. Um, it was right before the Thanksgiving holiday. My Tarot is No Monolith. That one just blew up like out of nowhere. Like I said, the algorithm must have just hit me because I think that was my third video that I had filmed and posted and whoever, whatever. And I think it took a couple of weeks for that one to really take off, or maybe like it took a week. Or, I don't know. I can't remember. And then I was just like, oh my God, this is wild. The comments started coming in, and then I started getting this influx of people, and I was just kind of like, what? Again, more shocked that people would want to listen to me. And I think a couple of people in the comments, like, you're just doing this for views. You're just doing this for money. I'm not monetized. I don't care. I don't want money. Like, what do you mean I'm doing this for money? But for views, like, yeah, who doesn't want people to view the content that they're creating, right? But it wasn't like I was trying to get hella views. I told my partner, I had told my friends, look, if I get 500 subscribers and people watch my videos regularly, that's so cool. I've made it as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's what I've been trying to do this entire time. And it wasn't the third. I'm still shocked, but that's kind of how I started to like, okay, if people really want these opinions, if they really want me to, be who I am, then baby, I'll give it to you. I don't mind. Because, and again, like I said, this goes back to, there are some things that I haven't said, that I haven't directly put into a video, that I've edited out, because, like, are they ready for it right now? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe a couple months down the road, when people really get a feel for who I am and how I speak and how I run things around here, then maybe they'll be ready for it. We'll see.
I'd say go for it. Do an episode about it. You never know. So what boundaries, time, emotional, energetic, or content-wise, have you had to put in place so that readings stay sustainable for you?
So again, I don't really do readings on my channel so much, but I can tell you about some boundaries that I've had to set for myself. If I post a particularly controversial video, I will not read the comments after 24 to 48 hours, because the people who really enjoy my content will view it within that first 48 hours. And then the haters and the lurkers and the people who just want to be nasty and mean and don't want to understand where I'm coming from, they'll trickle in a little bit later. So at least from what I've noticed, just having done this for maybe, I think 22 videos, I think I have 22 videos under my belt currently. I've noticed that if I stop reading and engaging with things after 48 hours, it's better for my mental health, because people can get really nasty. And I do read the comments, and I do kind of filter things out. Like, if you want to talk mad shit, I'm sorry. If you want to talk mad boo-boos about me, if you want to be really nasty, that's fine. I don't care. Your opinion is valid. I just, as long as you're not being like racist or bigoted or anti-Semitic or like, you say whatever you want, but I will delete those comments that are hateful against like a particular whatever, like, this is all in good fun. I'm just trying to be a clown. And if you want to get nasty because you saw a little truth in what I was saying, then nah, I'm sorry. I'm deleting that comment. But like 99% of the comments, I just leave up.
Yeah. I've learned that the hard way. Last year I was doing taroscopes, where I pull a tarot and an oracle card for each zodiac sign, and I posted on Facebook. And I would get all these Jesus Christian saying, oh, this is the devil and stuff like that. And then going, well, first of all, why are you commenting on it? Because you're, it's great because you're engaging. So it's good for my algorithm. But I did want to actually put a post or a comment saying, you should stop engaging if these are, because they're going to keep on coming to you, because you comment on them and you react to it. So Facebook algorithm doesn't know that you hate it. It's saying, hey, you're engaging with it. So,
you want more of it?
Yeah. So, but some of the nasty comments, I actually kind of just leave, and I'm going, it's going to make you look bad, and I'm going to reply to something very professional, going, okay, I understand everybody has their opinions and blah 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 blah, and everybody's entitled to them. So, and I leave it at that, and I'm going, you're going to be the one that's kind of, be the bad person, so not me. So, but no, I totally get it, and it's kind of interesting, you get the good comments for the first 48 hours, and then, as it trickles through and stuff like that, you get people who going, I don't know what this, or why am I getting this, or just people just want to, give you shit, right? For no reason, because that's their outlet. They don't care about themselves. So, hey, what's projected on somebody else? So speaking of heavy topics, so how do you handle heavy topics like grief and illness on camera or in a reading when you're doing it in front of somebody in a way that feels humane and honest? I've had a couple of those.
So as far as grief is concerned, I actually have a video planned in the next week or so, in about a week and a half. I have a video planned about grief. I have talked a little bit about my own personal things going on in my life. Trigger warning. I did talk about a miscarriage that I had, and again, because I don't read for people on my channel, talking about illness and grief hasn't been a huge theme of my channel. It will be once I drop that video. But I don't shy away from, stronger topics. I don't shy away from more emotional. The only thing that I'm worried about, because I've been drafting this video, the only thing I'm worried about is I don't know what I'm gonna do if I'm crying on camera, and I'm gonna have to edit that, like I'm gonna have to relive whatever kind of emotional issue that I had while I was filming, and I'm gonna have to edit that, and I'm like, oh my god, girl, you're crying, calm down, look at you, get yourself together.
I would say leave it.
But no, I do plan on talking about some grief and how I utilize cards for that, and how I'm also a big proponent of, I say it all the time, my friends know this about me, I do not think tarot is a replacement for therapy at all. Like you can use it in conjunction with therapy. You can use it for your own personal discovery and self-individuation and things of that nature, but it is not therapy. It is not therapy. It is something separate that can Venn diagram with therapy, right? I want people to know, if nothing else they take away from my channel, other than me being a hater, is tarot is an incredibly impactful and helpful spiritual tool, but it is not the end all be all. And if you have issues, you need to seek out therapy. Therapy and tarot are not synonymous.
Yeah, in my Taroscopes with the readings, because a whole bunch of readers do this on YouTube. They have this giant disclaimer, like, hey, this is for entertainment purposes, so that we don't get sued. And I don't know, did you hear about the? This is kind of off topic, but did you hear about the tarot reader that was on TikTok, and she was accusing of a female professor, of murdering a couple of women for it was like a hatred love affair or something like that.
I want to say no, but it does sound familiar.
Yeah, this was the case that got decided about a couple of weeks ago or something like that. And so this professor actually sued for $5,000, and she got awarded $15 million.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God! No, I think I've heard about that.
So I'm planning to do an episode on I've already done an episode on ethics and stuff like that, but yeah, definitely that's a topic that I want to do in the future. Going, yeah,
I think I've heard about it, but I hadn't heard that they won that amount of money. My goodness.
Yeah, no, this woman kind of reached out to her and say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't even in the country and stuff like that, but. I don't know if it's for clicks or whatever, but this tarot reader just kept on saying, no, I'm right. You did it. And so she had enough, the person being accused, and so sued, and $50 million later, I don't know if she makes that kind of money, but to afford it, but apparently she's still going at it. So I don't know, but Anyway, so back to our discussion. So that's the heart of the work, isn't it? Holding space with clarity and care. Let's shift gears and do something a little bit more lighter. My favorite little segment is the lightning round. So just to answer the whatever comes first and no overthinking. So sun, moon, and rising.
Aquarius sun, Gemini moon, Capricorn rising.
Perfect. Cups, wands, swords, or pentacles.
Swords and pentacles all the way, every day.
Shuffle or cut the deck.
Shuffle, but I side shuffle like this. I don't bridge. My nails are obnoxious, and I don't want to hurt the deck, so I side shuffle like that. Waterfall shuffle, I think it's called.
Do you let people handle your cards or not?
No, I'm often in bars or places where there are beverages, like in cafes or bars. Those are my two places. If it was at a library or even at, I remember I read at parties for friends, where there may be alcohol, there might not be alcohol, but no, I know how to shuffle even when I'm approaching inebriation. You know what I mean? I still know how to shuffle my cards. But if we're at a library, then yeah, no, please go ahead. You can shuffle my deck. I don't care. But if it's a situation where there's beverages around, no. I'm myself.
No, the only cards that I actually have people touch, and because they're two-sided, is this one.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen these cards, but I have to have them shuffle because they're two-sided cards, so I'll just randomly pick one. This one, drop and give some zen. And say, pay the piper and move on. So it's hard to pick the cards for himself, so I just and do it. So anyways, so back to the lightning round. Not really lightning round when we get sidetracked. So Rider, Waite, Thoth, or something entirely different.
Rider, Waite, Smith, and Thoth. I do love Thoth, but I think Thoth is more of a. I'm trying to be lightning roundish. Thoth is more serious. Thoth is more ceremonial to me. So every day, Rider, Waite, Smith. Okay. Special occasion, Thoth.
Spiritual book or teacher that changed your path.
Dostoevsky.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And why? Quick.
Reading Crime and Punishment was probably one of the most life-altering times and books for me to have read. So, yeah. It's all about redemption and knowing you're kind of a terrible, horrible person, but you, along with society, need to learn how to forgive yourself.
Like the judgment card.
There you go.
So that's the lightning round. So love those little personal glimpses of personality, and they always add texture to deeper things. So as we begin to wrap up, would you like to pull a card for the collective and see what people need to hear?
A card for the collective. I have never done this before, so this is going to be...
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never done
this.
No
pressure at all.
So. I know, right? Not even a little bit. So now I have to like shuffle them real good. Okay, well. You got the Six of Swords here. Okay, so if you want to talk about decans or timing, this is Aquarius 2. So this is going into February. Um, when I think about the Six of Swords, I often see the Six of Swords as needing to leave a very tumultuous situation. But again, going back to who you are in this card, are you the person? Are you the ferryman? Or are you the person in the front of the boat? Are you the one helping someone out to get to calmer waters, to get to a situation that is better? Or are you the person that needs to be led to calmer waters? And how does that, this very beginning, this budding, you can see spring on the horizon, but you're still in the doldrums of winter. You're still with that chilly, frosty air, but you can see there's a little bit more daylight. There's a little bit more, you know, the afternoons are a little breezier and not quite as chilly, but you know, it's just a false sense that there's still more acrid issues going on. There's still very chilly environments, still very, that tumultuous water is still there, but you have to rise above and go above or be led above, right? There you go.
That's an interesting perspective about, because when I pull that card for somebody, I'm always reading as the woman. So you're doing a journey from calm water, or from turbulent waters to calmer waters, and this is something that not serving you well, and that's what you need. But I never thought about the guy who's doing, and maybe they could. The reading is about the guy that's doing the rowing, not the woman.
Well, and
it's kind of interesting.
I saw that person as more level-headed, and all of the minors have a little dash, a little touch of the other minors, right? Like with the pentacles. The pentacles can be a little wandsy at times. The swords can be a little cuppy at times. The cups can be a little swordsy at times. Like the Seven of Cups, that's a very air card. Even though it's a cup card, it's a lot about thinking and that emotional thinking. And when people talk about, the Three of Swords, well, how does that show heartbreak and sorrow and so on and so forth? And that's where I say, again, there's a little bit that infiltrates each of the minors. So one suit is not all air. One suit is not all earth, right? They can weave, they can kind of go in and out of each other. So when I looked at that Six of Swords just now, there's a lot of water in that. There's a lot of air, like cups, emotion in that Six of Swords. So you don't want to, and again, this is what I was talking about. I do read very elementally and numerologically. So it's just, so, we all pick up off of each other. We all bounce ideas off of each other. So yeah, I do suggest.
And that's why we're doing these channels, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a whole different perspective on the Six of Swords now. So it's like, yeah, totally different perspective now. Got to think about. I don't know if in one of my videos I did this whole meditative state where you're kind of in a giant room and you go into like a room with a suit and there's walls of all the cards, and you're actually supposed to get into that state where you actually enter the card and you interact with it as part of the meditative process.
Path working, right?
Yeah. So
I don't think I've ever done that. I have been curious about that. That's something I could potentially do. I mean, maybe I was doing that when I was studying a card by card, but who knows?
Yeah. Matt Alburn, I think, is the psychic witch. He has a tarot book on it, and that's one of the practices that that you have to do. So, and it kind of makes you learn the cards and stuff like that. So then kind of manipulate the scene and how, and giving that perspective about, there's a lot of cups because there's a lot of water in it. So interesting. So anyways, we're closing off. So for folks who are meeting you for the first time, where can they find you? And what's the one video or series you'd love them to start with on your channel?
So I am Lexie Fraiche at Miss Nefarious Aquarius. You can find me on Instagram or on YouTube, Miss Nefarious Aquarius. I believe for Instagram, I have the underscores. So Miss _Aquarius _ Miss Nefarious Aquarius with underscores in between them. I do apologize. And for
I'll put it in the link so that
yeah, please. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The one video I suggest people watch, the tarot, the court cards video. I'm really proud of that video. Let's talk about court cards. I really do love that video. My tarot wrapped all of the decks that I got into in 2025. If you want to know who I am and how I read, that's a good video to watch. Or How I Tarot is also a very, very good video to watch. I hesitate to mention the Tarot is No Monolith, because that's the hot one. That's the popular one. That's the one that's going to, get under your skin.
I'll have to check that one. I missed that one. So.
But those ones, How I Tarot and Tarot Wrapped 2025. Those are the two that I would suggest.
Perfect. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on today that feels important to name about the tarot not being a monolith, which we already just discussed, or the way you hold space for your community?
I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I'm so grateful for my partner, who has been very supportive. He doesn't watch any of my YouTube videos, which is fine. I don't care. He lives it, right? I'm really grateful and thankful for him, because he kind of puts up with, like, hey, get out of here. I need to film, or me obsessing over getting notes or replying to comments. Or he's amazing. I'm so blessed to have him in my life and have him be so understanding and extremely supportive. I remember I said, if I get 1,000 subscribers before blah blah blah, you'll have to do a video with me. And he's like, yeah, oh yeah. And then
awesome.
once I got that 1,000, he's like, well, and I was like, no, I didn't take you seriously. I didn't think you were going to do anything. But he did say he was going to help me. I shouldn't give people any kind of knowledge about what we have going on in the behind the scenes. But if I'm still going strong, which hopefully I will still be going strong in the next couple of months, we have a huge Halloween thing that we're going to do. And we have a couple's costume, and he'll appear with me while I film for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. And then he's gonna leave. But he's fabulous. And all the people who leave really wonderful and supportive comments, and all the people that watch my videos and share and message me, that's how you and I got hooked up. I do read my DMs. I do respond to people who want to follow me on Instagram. I'm nothing special. I'm just like a regular girl like you or this guy or whoever, Susie Q. It doesn't really matter. So if people want to talk to me, they can talk to me. I'm an open book. I might not respond immediately because I got a 9 to 5, but I'm just like everybody else. I'm just like you reading your deck at the fair. I'm just like you reading your cards at the library. We're all here for the same reason, for the love of tarot and community.
And empowering people is my take. So, but anyways, thank you so much, Lexie. This has been an awesome conversation. I've been looking forward to it. Like I said, I saw your first video months and months ago, and then I saw the 5 tarot readers, and I was like, I definitely need to like interview here because I think we'd have an awesome conversation because we sort of kind of think similarly in some respects. So everyone, go find Miss Nefarious Aquarius on YouTube and take that Decan Walk with her. Every conversation on this show reminds me why I started it in the first place. Because there is so much wisdom in this community when we actually sit down and talk to each other. Lexie is the real deal. Go find Miss Nefarious Aquarius on YouTube and Instagram. Links are in the description and show notes. Show her some love. If today's episode gave you something to think about, whether that's your reading style, your shadow cards, or finally starting that Decan Walk, then this was worth every minute. And if this conversation resonated with you, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to it if you haven't already, and share it with someone in your tarot community. It really does make a difference. Now I want to hear from you. Which of the 5 archetypes are you? Drop it in the comments below. I'm reading every single one of those. Until next time, I'm George Duss. Keep shuffling, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Tarot Talk Show.